Morning. This is Ajay Desai. I'm the head of international trade based at the Coventry and Warwickshire Chamber of Commerce. Today I'm going to take you through the services that UK Trade and Invest provide, how we can assist British businesses to access and secure orders in international markets. Firstly, to tell you something about UKTI, we are a government organization which has been set up to support British businesses through their international trade journey. We connect businesses to other businesses across the world. We also look at how we can attract investment into the UK and effectively take a company through the journey of international trade aimed at addressing some of the issues that they might be facing along the way. To give you an overview, UK Trade and Invest is there to sort of support a company in their journey, taking them into international trade. We do this through advice to a company on specific issues, work at a strategic level to sometimes challenge effectively how they're taking their company forward. We provide training, we provide development, and of course access to finance and financial support towards accessing new markets. In terms of the export journey, you could be anywhere, whether you're a new to export company, first-time exporters, or you're looking at growing your exports, or you're a medium-sized business between 12 to 250 million turnover. We have support right across for each of these companies, be it first time or someone who's large but is looking at expanding their existing portfolio of products into international markets, be it one specific country or even more. And to do this, we have a suite of programs and processes which we would utilize to help a company. Primarily for first-time exporters, we have a program called Passport to Export, which effectively is a one-year intensive assistance program for companies. And it starts off very much with an international trade advisor sort of working with the company, assessing where they are in their export planning process, how a company is planning to take things forward. An element of Passport would be going on a workshop which gives you a helicopter view of all of the aspects of international trade that you would be going through, be it researching new customers, looking at which countries you ought to be exporting to, how you're going to get your goods across land, sea, air, what are the rules governing some of the logistics. We would look at issues of intellectual property and how you would protect that. How best would it be for your company to get money back out of the country for you, and effectively setting up at the end of that workshop an international trade plan which is bespoke to your company in terms of taking you through your international trade journey. You have unlimited access to an international trade advisor linked to your company who you could communicate both electronically, pick up the phone, or face-to-face. Generally, you would see the international trade advisor right across that year, and the idea of having that link is to ensure that both you and the international trade advisor work through that action plan that you've developed in a proactive process, going through areas where you might need further support, further need to develop, and the international trade advisor would be there to take you through every step of the way, with a view that by the end of that journey, you would have effectively gone through your action plan. You would have prepared your strategy in terms of how you were going to present. You would have been out to your target market. You would have ideally be in a position where you've got an order and hopefully you've been paid or are in the process of being paid. That is the general average sort of expectation of that 1 year intensive support. We have for companies who have products which lend themselves to e-exporting, to sort of work with sort of the website to be able to access markets across the world using the likes of Amazon and eBay and Baidu, which happens to be in China. Effectively, how do you prepare to ensure that your product is on those sites? What are the strategies you would use to ensure what preparation you would need to do prior to going on to that, and issues around that? For new companies also who are thinking about export but are not 100% sure, is it right for me, is it not? Although in my opinion, every company should be exporting. We have a program called Export Savvy, which is very much an interactive program which takes you through modules of the sorts of things you need to prepare for in terms of getting your product ready for export. And it's a interactive program which you would through tick boxes, through some of your views, you would put through on that interactive sort of program. It would allow us as the international trade advisors to assess whether you are ready to go on to international markets. And Export Savvy is a great tool to be able to sort of test whether export is something for you and your product lends itself to export. We also have something called Export Insight Visits, which are aimed at new to export companies. It's about taking new to export companies out on a market visit, effectively managed by the international trade advisors. We've taken about 40, 50 companies out to, for instance, the Baltic states, whereby it gives you a chance to see how an international trade advisor interacts with the company here and in market in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. The teams that we have there, how they would be able to support you as a company in that market. And it just gives you, as is in the name, it's an insight into what you would go through and the type of support that would be available in order to give you the confidence that by going it alone, working with an international trade advisor, you would be able to access exactly the same products and services and support that you've seen in this Export Insight visit. That's very much sort of aimed at first-time exporters, companies who have not sort of thought about exporting but are taking their first steps. However, there are companies who are already exporting and perhaps exporting to a particular market and might want to look at other markets that they want to target. And there again, we have a suite of services which would apply very well to those companies who are looking to grow their export sales. And it again starts with the online e-exporting program, exactly the same, but it's about preparing the company, ensuring that you have the volumes to cater to the demand, some of the logistic issues around that. We also have something called the Export Communications Review, which is very much looking at how are you viewed as a company when someone from another market is looking at you, your communication. What does your paperwork say? What are your sort of email, does it end in .co.uk, or does it end in .com, or does it end in the country that you're actually targeting? For instance, you might be looking at India as a market, so does it end in .in? How do you sort of, who is actually coming to your website, looking at sort of your products, which products are they looking at? And this whole communication review is an exercise of looking at you as a company and providing you with a critical report of ideally the areas that you need to improve in order to be seen as an international company, to give confidence to your customers out there that effectively you're a company to be reckoned with. And are you seen as a Solihull company? Are you seen as a West Midlands company? Are you seen as a British company, or are you seen as an international company? And the export communication review effectively tries to elevate your company to a position where people looking at it will feel and know that you're a good British company, effectively set up to be able to provide the sorts of products that are sort of seen and effectively linked to what people expect of British products of good quality. We think that's a great way to improve how your customers will perceive you when they hear from you, they see your literature and your website in the main. We've also got export market research schemes. A lot of success is based on good research, and export market research is one of those sort of ways whereby you can target a particular market, go out to that market, do a bit of research that effectively allows you to feel confident that yes, my product has a place in this market and will sell in this market. And in order to encourage you, there are grants of funding available in terms of your cost towards going out to the market, in terms of your accommodation there. And in course of your research, if you end up spending 6, 7, 8,000, the UK government will match your sort of your spend up to 50% of the cost. So if you end up spending 8,000, there would be a grant of about 4,000 towards that. There are other elements of export market research scheme whereby you might know of a report that's already in place, and all you want to do as an organization is be able to purchase that in order to sort of answer some of the questions. And there again, there is some financial support for you to be able to go out and acquire that a piece of market research off the shelf and be able to again verify that your product is ideal for that particular market. The export market research scheme is very much you taking the lead and you doing the work largely in terms of the research. However, we also have our overseas teams who get involved in the Overseas Market Introduction Service, which is another way you can research a particular market, a particular question you might have about that market. And you would talk to your international trade advisor in terms of this is what I'm trying to sort of find out about this country. The international trade advisor would get in touch with the teams in that country effectively to say, we've got company X wants to find out about this product, this is their background, and the team out there would be able to come back and suggest that yes, we can help and we think there is potential. There is a cost attached to the Overseas Market Introduction Service, but it is highly subsidized, and it's a service which sort of has assisted vast majority of my companies who have been advising since the last 18 years, and effectively is got a proven track record in terms of success. We also have, as part of sort of the support in our sort of arsenal, access to the business growth service. So if there is a particular uh, uh, area that you want to develop within your company, we can bring to for the business growth service, whereby we have the growth accelerator teams who would come out and work with you, or teams from the manufacturing advisory service if there's a particular manufacturing issue that you want to address. And certainly these are additional areas where we can use other sort of mechanisms from the business support function of the UK government to assist you as a company. Moving on to sort of the mid-sized businesses, the larger businesses, here again we've tailored packages to assist these larger companies by having a dedicated international trade advisor who's again linked to the company, who can work with the senior management team in terms of looking at what the strategy of the company is, advise on certain areas that they might want to consider and take forward, how they could use our international teams abroad who are based in the consulates of the countries, and effectively utilize the expertise that they have in terms of identifying how best to target that particular market. We have, apart from the planning advice, access to postgraduate placements. We work very closely with our universities to be able to provide that to companies, which can be quite a useful way of, if you're targeting, for instance, a particular country, having a postgraduate placement, specifically researching and assisting the company in that area would shorten the timescales that the company would require in order to sort of target those markets. We also have sort of very close links with the UK Export Finance, and certainly we can organize for an expert from the UK Export Finance team to come out and able to talk to the company in terms of looking at where UK Export Finance can assist in terms of loans, in terms of grants, etc. And of course, we have a whole series of trade missions going out to companies where, again, for eligible companies, small to medium-sized enterprises, there are subsidies available to assist with their travel and accommodation costs. I think in the main, what I'm trying to put across is we have a whole host of services right across, sort of starting from businesses that are thinking about exporting, businesses that are exporting but want to grow their exports, or even mid-sized companies. We would be able to provide you with the network, the support around assistance that you would require. We have trade shows very much like this one, where overseas, where we've sort of taken on pavilions where you would be able to be part of the British pavilion and have the ability to take stand space. There are grants towards the stand space depending on sort of the size of the show and the size of the company. But for life sciences, we've got Africa Health, the China Medical Equipment Fair, Hospitalar, to name a few, where we've got trade fair access program whereby UK Trade and Invest would put in up to £2,500 towards the cost of your stand space, or 50%, the maximum being £2,500. In addition to that, we have sort of the ability to call on our experts from overseas. So for instance, every year we organize life science experts who come in, and in December we had 12 life science experts come in from Southeast Asia in order to be able to come and have one-to-one meetings with companies here on the ground, saving the company the sort of issue of going out to the individual countries, whereby they could speak to the Southeast Asian experts and ideally find out if their product would have traction in those countries. These were the life science experts. So again, whether it was looking at a particular part of that country, or sort of looking at the route to that market, they would have been in a position to advise you right here in the UK about how best to go about doing that. We also have a lot of one-to-one meetings, so it's not always a group of 12 life science experts. We have inward visits from our experts who come in, and there again we are able to set up one-to-one meetings. We have another one which is happening in December 2015, where we've got Southeast Asia experts coming in. But while I'm giving you the example of Southeast Asia, it's not limited to Southeast Asia. We have experts coming in from the US, we have experts coming in from Europe, and effectively the object of that exercise is to be able to sit with you, to be able to go through and answer some of your questions about those countries in order to help you make up your mind whether it is an appropriate market for you. In fact, within the West Midlands, one of the 9 regions of England, we have a team of 35 international trade advisors. We are the first point of contact with a company who is looking to export, who is looking to grow their exports, or a mid-sized company wanting to take things forward. And ideally, making contact with that international trade advisor should be your first step in terms of accessing some of these services. So really, for the next steps, these are the ways through which you can access your international trade advisor, and it's a service which for British companies, it's free at the point of delivery. In terms of the time that the international trade advisor provides you, you could access it through by going on the government UKTI site, and certainly we have a lot of events happening right across the country for Export Week, which you will undoubtedly hear in the press. And we have a number of masterclasses that we organize, whereby if there's a particular area of expertise that you'd want to build on in your company, we can provide. So for instance, there would be masterclasses on how do you exhibit, or there would be masterclasses on how do you get your goods from A to B, or there would be masterclasses on how do you protect your intellectual property. These are just some of the examples, and I think I'd commend that you go out and talk to your international trade advisor and take up the cudgel of exporting, because certainly the only way your company can grow is either you increase your products or you increase your markets. Thank you very much.